talking to the real difference makers in the world. Now, here is your host, John Crump.
Hey, what is up, everyone? Happy free. And I think they were back. We are sponsored by Lee Armory. Have you ever fired in a Lee Armory AK, Chris?
I have not. That's a new brand for me.
Yeah, Lee Armory is really, really good. I forgot to put up their link here, but I'm about to put it up. But yeah, Lee Armory is really good, and I like them a lot. So I'm going to put up a little banner here. This is their M10. It's basically the same as a Wasser, but with upgrades. For example, this is an Arsenal handguard, Arsenal stock, Tango Down grip, which I really like the Tango Down grip. They all ship with X-Tech mags, not the banana one, but other X-Tech mags. The brake on it's really cool. It is one of the best AKs I've ever fired, and it's quite reasonably priced if you look at it. I haven't been on the last couple of days, had internet problems, but I am here now. So we're going to jump right into this. But thank you, Lee Armory, for making this all possible. Today, I have on the show a guy that won the show Top Shot on the Discovery Channel, or the History Channel.
History Channel.
All owned by Discovery.
Yeah.
Chris Cheng, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, thanks for having me on, John.
Yeah, I'm just gonna jump right into the first question that I've always wondered: how did you get on Top Shot?
Yeah, so when seasons 1 and 2 started airing back in, it was like 2010, like millions of viewers across the country, I was just sitting on the couch, right, watching the show every week. And, you sit there and you watch these challenges and you watch all these incredible weapons being shot. And you often sit there and say to yourself, oh, I could do that. Oh, that guy missed. Oh, I wouldn't have missed. And for some reason, at the end of season 2, I was like, I keep on saying I think I can do this, and I think I should just apply. And in my background as a self-taught amateur shooter, I had zero credentials. I mean, it was like I wasn't competing. I hadn't won any competitions. I was not military or law enforcement, and so really, I didn't have any business thinking that I could apply and make it onto the cast or have any chance of winning. But after season 2, I remember Googling Top Shot audition, and it's basically a paper application, and you film yourself shooting and right, talking to the camera kind of stuff. And for me, having gone to school in LA, I was around a lot of Hollywood people, and a lot of my college friends ended up going in the industry, and kind of realizing that, all right, I'm going to apply. And part of this is it's a competition, but then the other part is, well, it is also a TV show. And so kind of understanding that dynamic of what do people want to see on TV from a demographics perspective, but then also making sure that I'm highlighting my shooting abilities, and I can hit targets that I'm aiming at. But I realized in my application that I need to be interesting, and nobody wants to see a boring person on TV. And so, a big part of the application period, application process was me thinking, all right, like what parts of me do I really want to highlight? So we lost John. Nope, and John is back.
No, I'm here. I can just go like that and pitch you up.
Okay, good. I was like, you disappeared from my view. I'm like, did you just like go? There we go. Now.
Our chat feature is broken to the people out there for some reason. I usually have the chats rolling by so I can put them up on the screen and read them. I have a second monitor with all chats. So if you want to ask Chris a question, just put it over there.
Very good.
I'll relay it. We do have a question, though. And was Top Shot ever on the Outdoor Network? And I think it was. I think it was not the original run shows, but I think Discovery sold it to the Outdoor Network.
Yeah,
So they ran the replays on the Outdoor Network. If I'm not
the original live air
history
was History Channel. Yeah, but back to the auditioning now. I didn't have any business really, applying, to the show, but I wanted to have a lot of fun, and through a lot of practice and a lot of training, I ended up beating all the law enforcement officers and military folks and Olympic shooters, and that came at a great cost in terms of time and sacrificing social events and family outings. Basically, for 5 months, I trained 20 to 25 hours a week, and didn't hang out with my friends or my family, and really just dedicated myself to the craft of learning how does one become a really good marksman.
Yeah, we got another question. What is your favorite firearm that you used on Top Shot?
So for me, because I'm a civilian, and at the time I was an amateur shooter, any kind of machine gun was delightful, and thankfully is still delightful, even though I'm 7 years now working in the firearms industry. So specifically, there was a challenge that reenacted a World War II battlefield, and there were mortar explosions and exploding targets out on the course, and so the M1919 machine gun was the weapon for the challenge, and they mounted it in the back of a World War II half-track vehicle.
Oh my God, you are so lucky.
Yeah, and we're going down this course at 25, 30 miles an hour, and I'm shooting this M1919 machine gun in a World War II half-track that actually served in the European theater, and you just don't get any better than that, right? Shooting a period gun in a period vehicle in a recreated scenario, and that was my favorite weapon on Top Shot for sure.
Yeah, Kermit Loves Bacon wants to know if you identify as a Republican or a Democrat.
I'm a registered Republican. I, however, am more libertarian more than anything else. If I had my say in the way that our political system worked, I would be a big L libertarian, but I'm a small L libertarian.
Yeah. Okay. One of the things on Top Shot that they do is it's not all about guns. Sometimes they do other stuff. I know they've done archery. During your season on Top Shot, did they do anything else besides guns?
Yes, we had a crossbow challenge, which was a lot of fun. It was basically rotating targets, and you had to fire the bolts at the moving targets, and kind of highest point total wins. But the more interesting non-firearm weapon was a weapon called an atlatl. Have you ever heard of an atlatl?
Yeah, I actually saw the episodes.
Okay, good. So yeah,
explain it to the people.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen Top Shot season 4, there's a one of the weapons we use was called an atlatl, and it's man's oldest weapon system. And what it essentially is you've got a stick that you're holding, and the stick extends back behind you, and then pointed forward, laying on top of the stick, is your spear. So you basically are throwing the spear, and it's literally a spear chucking weapon. And, I had never heard of the weapon, never touched it, I had zero concept of, what an atlatl was all about. But some fun behind the scenes with that episode. For, let's see, for days, actually for weeks before that finale, there you go. Yeah, or sorry, before that challenge, we were always trying to guess, what was the next weapon going to be. And Terry Vaughn, who's a British Special Forces guy, goes, "Hey, I got one for you. I bet that they were going to have us, shoot the atlatl." And we're like, "What is that?" And he was explaining, I think that diagram in the bottom second from the right is maybe a good diagram there.
Let's see.
That one, or the Nat Geo one. That's another. The Nat Geo one's a good picture.
Okay.
That one's good. I
was trying to bring up something right here, but go top. I'll bring it up. I got something.
All right. Yeah. So we were always placing bets and making guesses. What's the next weapon going to be? And then man, when the atlatl came up, it was an elimination challenge. So me and a hunter went head to head, and of course he had actually used an atlatl before. He had a leg up on me, but I practiced a lot. We got an hour practice session with an atlatl expert, and for me, I pulled a lot from my baseball background. I played a lot of baseball when I was a kid, and a little bit of golf as well. And so if you've played baseball or thrown a football, that there's technique and form in everything. And atlatl is no different. It's about breaking down the steps into easy to execute components. And so it was basically with a day's worth of practice, doing thousands of repetitions of this whole atlatl throwing motion. Got me to win the challenge.
Yeah, here it is. Let's see if I can play this here. I'll show everyone exactly how the atlatl works.
Yeah, cool.
I don't know if you guys saw that or not. But yeah, that's an atlatl. It's a really cool weapon, though.
Yeah.
A lot of people use it for hunting in Africa and stuff like that. I'm just amazed on how many different weapons that you guys had to use on that. You would think it'd be just guns, but it's not.
Yeah, right. In past seasons, it was everything from throwing knives to like tomahawks to rocks. Like season 3, you had to throw rocks.
Yeah,
which is pretty. That was pretty. People had their opinions about the rocks challenge, but slingshots. Oh my gosh! I think it was season 1. Right, they had a slingshot challenge. That just brought me back to my childhood. And they had a blow dart challenge as well. Like that was really cool.
That is really cool, and you won the whole damn thing.
Yeah, won $100,000 cash and the title of Top Shot, and then a pro marksmanship contract with the show's sponsor, who's Bass Pro Shops. And for 3.5 years, I traveled the country shooting 3-gun with Bass Pro Shops, and I've just had the time of my life. It was, John, I think one thing that's been really interesting about my personal experiences, when I got into Top Shot, it was, it wasn't about the Second Amendment. It wasn't about even really firearm safety for me. It was just about having fun, right? I was a very casual gun owner, and winning Top Shot, just, even after winning, I didn't think that I would get into Second Amendment advocacy or get into the gun community as deep as I've gotten. But as I was traveling the country, I really got to meet some of the best people in our country, and I've had so much fun, and I've learned a lot about the Second Amendment and what it means, not just to me, but what it means to millions of other Americans as well. And if you take one look at what's happening in Hong Kong right now, right? If anyone's ever questioned, right, why should civilians own firearms? It's because in Hong Kong, right, they're fighting the Chinese government, and the Hong Kong residents are using bows and arrows, right, against them.
They're using like trebuchets and catapults.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And right, this is 2019, and modern day tyranny is in action in Hong Kong right now, and the people are trying their best to fight back, and they're having some good successes. But imagine, right, what would the balance of things look like if the residents had firearms? It's quite an interesting question.
Yeah, there is a picture of one of the protesters holding up a sign saying, "We wish we had a Second Amendment." I had something on my face. You didn't tell me, Chris.
Oh gosh, sorry about that.
No, but there. Did you see? Have you seen that picture?
I have not. I'll have to take a look at that.
One of the protesters holding up a sign saying, "This is why we need a Second Amendment here," and I think everyone needs to take a look at that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But everyone.
I saw a tweet the other day, and I put it up on my Instagram page, where somebody tweeted, I don't know who this person was, but they basically tweeted, "The riots and protests in Hong Kong has made me change my mind about personal firearms ownership."
Yeah, it was liberal from your neck of the woods.
Yeah. And you're right, it was interesting, right, to see somebody literally change their mind. And for so many of us in the gun rights fight, it's changing one mind at a time, right? And it's slow, right? It's not like we're always going to win people over with facts and logic and reason. And sometimes it's going to take an emotional experience, right? Maybe, right, someone gets into some violent encounter, right, or right, they look at violence that's happening in other places of the world, like in Hong Kong, and make them think a little bit more about our freedoms and our rights here in our country. So that was a very encouraging, encouraging tweet to see someone, share their thoughts.
Did you follow the whole conversation?
There have been lots of conversations on. I didn't follow
the thread. On the second thing he posted, and I responded to, was, "Wait until all these gun people find out that I support gay rights." LOL. Well, I don't think they would care.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of funny. It's like so even though that he was being pro, saying he rethought his thoughts on the Second Amendment, it also showed that he doesn't understand the gun culture, because the gun culture is really, really accepting of people. If you saw that the 2A rally where you spoke at.
Yeah, absolutely right. So right, a few weeks ago, we were in our nation's capital, for the 2A rally, and I spoke about being openly gay, and one of the best things that I love about the gun community is that nobody cares that I'm gay, right? This is yeah, it's such a non-issue, and I often, I'm often reflecting about my LGBT experience and my 2A experience, and how there's a lot of similarities, and so for me, one thing I think a lot of gun advocates kind of get frustrated with sometimes is having to be so vocal, right? Or a lot of gun owners are uncomfortable being vocal, right? That right, we're not often a community that likes to speak out on behalf of our rights. It's we're more action oriented, right? Let's go do something. But when I look at the LGBT community, we've been having pride parades and LGBT rallies for decades, right? And it's been that visibility, and we've had to make a big deal about being gay, right? And that it's fine. We just want to be treated equally and treated like normal people. And I feel like gun owners, we are demanding, and we should be demanding the same thing, right? I don't want to be demonized just because I own an AR-15 or because I own a gun, because I think it's a good tool to use to protect myself, or because, right, because I want to support other people's, right to protect themselves. And what I was, also talking about the rally is that you can't just walk down the street and know that if someone's gay or whether they're a gun owner.
Yeah.
So we all need to make ourselves known,
Yeah.
right? Whoever we are. And if you're a gun owner, a big challenge often is speaking up in moments where it might be uncomfortable, right? Maybe it's that Thanksgiving dinner that's coming up this Thursday. And right, maybe saying, hey, Uncle John, like, I went to the range last weekend and I had a blast, and I brought some friends, and maybe seeing what he says. Or obviously there's just many other situations that we've all been in where we don't always decide to come out as a gun owner.
Yeah,
we just decide to be quiet and let the conversation pivot to some other topic.
Yeah, one of the comments says, I don't care if someone's straight, gay, Republican, Democrat, etc. We need to put all our differences aside and fight for our freedoms.
That's right.
I think that's why that is right. But getting back to the LGBT community, what I noticed is the enthusiasm for the Second Amendment in the LGBT community has grown substantially in the last few years. I think since the Pulse nightclub shooting, I think it's grown substantially. I might be wrong about that, but maybe you have a better answer for that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. No, it has grown notably, and there's always been a notable portion of the gay community who have been supportive of gun rights and who own guns. After the Pulse shooting a few years ago, though, and for those of you who aren't familiar with the Pulse nightclub shooting, this was in Orlando, Florida. It was one of our nation's worst domestic terrorist attacks, where over 100 Americans were either wounded or killed. And
50 Americans were killed, and 50 some other ones, like 55, were wounded, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was a real big wake up moment for a lot of gay Americans, because for the LGBT community, gay clubs and gay bars are safe spaces. It's like right when if your parents disown you, if you don't have a lot of friends in your in your neighborhood, the local gay bar is often a place that will accept you for who you are. And so for a shooter to come into this safe space and shoot up, just people who are looking to have a drink and meet new friends and relax, it really struck a nerve with a lot of people in the gay community. But it's interesting for me to have seen that, okay, well, right, some part of the gay community said, oh, right, another mass shooting, let's ban guns, because we know that's often, that always comes up. However, a significant part of the gay community said, okay, I want to arm myself, right? I don't want to be a victim. I don't want to be unprepared, right, when I'm either out in public or home. And so in the wake of the Pulse shooting, a organization called Operation Blazing Sword was created. Yeah. And over 1,800 volunteer firearms trainers put their information, right, their name, their contact information on this Google map. And they said, LGBT community, I'm either a gay instructor or I'm a straight ally who will train you for free. So
Yeah.
if you want free training, here's my information. And that was really incredible, right? That there was that kind of positive response to
Yeah.
such a terrible tragedy.
Yeah, 3% United Patriots of Virginia put that out, and we ended up training, I think probably about 20 different people.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah, Operation Blazing Swords. They do a lot with AmmoLand, where I work for, the publication I work for. And I also work for Gun Owners of America. But yeah, for AmmoLand, they do a lot. They're headquartered in Florida, right?
I believe so. Yes. Yeah. And
the CEO of AmmoLand lives like 5 minutes away from their headquarters, so they talk a lot.
oh, how cool. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but there's Operation Forge, Pink Pistols, another good one that's out there. And I think it's great to see that happen.
It really is. And, it's interesting to think about, a lot of good things often start off with a very simple, humble beginning. So Pink Pistols, which you mentioned, is another LGBT 2A organization. And its beginnings started 19 years ago. And it was a simple article that was written in Salon magazine. And the author proposed that gay people form chapters and they basically go train each other, right? Gay people should go train more gay people to learn how to shoot and defend themselves against gay bashers and other general threats. And so that one simple article resulted in, I think there's almost like 100 chapters, the Pink Pistols nationwide, and and of course, thousands and thousands of members and supporters. So, my point is, I think many of us often think to ourselves, what can I do to support the Second Amendment and to further our rights? And sometimes it's as simple as a Facebook post, a blog post, right? Or go to your city council and go talk to your legislators, or show up right at the Second Amendment rally, the 2A rally that we just had a few months ago. Oh my gosh, was it a few months ago? No, it was a few weeks ago. Oh man, it's been a busy
November 2nd.
Yeah.
I'm flying by, but not that fast. Kermit loves bacon. He's gonna wear his 2A rally cap to Thanksgiving dinner.
Nice. That's awesome. I support that.
Yeah, for Thanksgiving dinner, I have my in-laws coming over. My stepdad was a cop, and my father-in-law was a cop in New York City, an Army vet. My wife is still currently military. We have another guy coming over, one of my friends, who is he's in the Air Force. He's a combat controller, JTAC guy, goes out, calls in airstrikes with forces units, and his girlfriend, who's from the Marines, coming. So I don't think we're gonna have too many people that are not pro Second Amendment at my Thanksgiving Day table.
There you go.
But if you do you talk to the people, I think that's one of the things that we do as a 2A community. We turtle shell in, and we don't try to convince other people. We kind of, if somebody has, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. I was talking to someone about firearms, and they thought like an AR-15 was an automatic rifle. So I was like, no, that's not how it works. And I started explaining. And then I had another guy jump in who's pro-gun, saying, that's what's wrong. You guys want to pass laws without understanding what the hell you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not going to help anything. Explain.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as a Second Amendment community, we need to understand people are going to have misconceptions, because the other side is really good at confusing people. But we have to have patience and explain the differences.
Yeah, I think sometimes, right, it's about having the patience to explain what many of us consider, right, to be basic concepts, but right, often, people are only repeating what they hear in the media, right? That the AR-15 is a weapon of war, that it's a fully automatic, assault weapon, that they have all these scary features on it, and so I think, right, we need to have the patience, right, to talk to our communities about, what are we really talking about. I think another piece is knowledge and education, right? So it's hard, right? It's hard for us to engage on the topic if we're not armed with, some amount of facts and figures. It can't just be our feelings. Just like, right, we shouldn't be legislating or promoting policy position on feelings. So, we should be, constant students of the Second Amendment, kind of have our finger on the pulse of what's happening on the judicial end of things. And there was one more thing I was going to say. I think the last thing is, sometimes people don't really want to have a conversation, right? So if you find someone who actually wants to have a dialogue, right, then great, right? Go and have a dialogue. But then, I run into some people who they don't want to have a dialogue. They just want to yell and scream about how right they are and how wrong I and the rest of us are. Right? So I don't engage in those discussions, because, right, it's not really a discussion. Then it's just it's just a pissing match at that point.
Yeah, like if I pull this out, a lot of them are going to think this is a weapon of war. This awesome specimen, the Lee Armory M10, which is available at leearmory.com. But they think it's automatic, but it's not. But it is really good for defending yourself at home. So everyone check out leearmory.com. You like
there
the
you
product?
go. Yeah, nice plug.
Yeah, I gotta pay the bill somehow.
Yeah.
No, but I say that there's certain people you can reason with and certain people that you can't reason with. And if you can't reason with them, then you have to move on.
Yeah.
For example, the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence was trying to smear me today by trying to say stuff I didn't say and not really taking stuff out of context, but taking other things out of context that I have written. For example, I wrote about the whole. You probably heard about the Whiskey Warrior 556 thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's been an interesting debacle.
Yeah, well, the night it happened, I reached out to the police and pulled records and reached out to his family members, his wife's family members, and I figured out what happened pretty quickly, that it wasn't what it seemed. And I wrote an article, and I basically said, the police said this is what happened. He disputes this, but here's what I found out. And I went through like everything that happened and how I found out and like what actually happened. They took, this is what he said, and cut it out and said, John Crump is pushing a false narrative that this guy was, being red flagged, and this is why you shouldn't pay attention to pro 2A media. I'm like, no, I didn't say that at all. But yeah, but we can't fall into that trap either, though. Yeah, we can't fall into the trap where we smear the other people by using misinformation. They give us enough weapons to use against them, in the way of pointing out their false facts. And if we start using false facts ourselves, I think that really weakens our argument. I think we need to be honest. And people are bringing up Dan Gross, for example, which is
and I agree with you, right? That we can't compromise on some of our core values, right? Which is truth. And right there's for me, and I know for a lot of your listeners, right, there's honor and truth, even if it means upsetting other people. But right, we should always be be leveraging the truth.
Yeah, people want to know what the deal with Whiskey Warrior 556 was. I guess they didn't hear. He wasn't red flagged. It was a domestic violence charge. There was a felony domestic violence. He beat his wife, so they were coming to arrest him for that, and plus burglary, petty larceny, stalking, and a bunch of other stuff. And there was nothing about any guns or any magazines at all, and there was no red flags. So there you go. That's what happened.
I don't have any major comment. I was sort of watching this unfold over the weekend, and to be frank, I was just taking care of other things. I'm like, I'm not really interested in kind of engaging in this. But I'm glad that it seems like when the facts came to light, that a lot of the outdoor media, and hopefully the mainstream media, if any of them covered it, kind of realized what was happening, and look, right, let's just get the story straight and focus on whatever needs to happen at this point, right? If she needs protection, right, let's make sure she's safe. If he needs to be prosecuted, right, because if he actually did beat her or violate the law, right, he should be prosecuted and thrown in jail. So let's learn from, right, whatever mistakes happened. And sounds like in this case is very much about verifying the facts, right, before right, reporting on it, which it happens in such a fast moving society with 24/7 internet, et cetera, et cetera.
Everybody wants to be first.
Yeah.
You live in San Francisco. Is it hard being a gun owner in San Francisco?
It is not an easy place to be a gun owner. I've lived in San Francisco for 12 years. I'm a native Californian, so I went from SoCal up to NorCal. And, San Francisco, boy, this is one of the most heavily legislated places I've ever lived, whether it comes to firearms or taxes, building homes or, commercial construction. This city just loves to nickel and dime and tax everybody and then create all these rules in this Byzantine network of processes to get anything done. Sometimes it boggles my mind, like, how are we such a quote unquote successful city? But with respect to guns, we used to have a gun shop. We had a few gun shops in the city. As of 3 years ago, the last gun shop in San Francisco shut down, and mostly due to anti-gun pressure from the board of supervisors and the local government. And then we used to have a number of shooting ranges in the city as well, and the last one also closed about 3 years ago. That one was a great range. The quick history there was it's at Lake Merced, which is this beautiful lake, in the city. And the club was, I think, formed. It was the Pacific Rod and Gun Club, and if I remember correctly, they were established in 1935, before any of the land around it was developed. Right, so it was just this great. It was a shotgun range primarily. So shotguns going off. But then, of course, decades later, a condominium complex opens up right across the street from the shooting range. And then you have these noise complaints, right? That people are like, oh, there's gunshots going on all day long. It's like, well, what do you think is going to happen, right? When you move next to a gun range, it's like complaining that there's airplane noise if you live near the airport, kind of thing. It's like, come on, this is kind of ridiculous. But where the city really got the club was, they said that environmental water testing of the lake showed elevated lead levels, and that the club would need to pay something like $20 million, right, for lead cleanup and all these other changes. That the club didn't have that money, and also the club was contesting the environmental test results, and then of course that didn't go anywhere, right? Because the city basically just wasn't entertaining even hearing why the way that they tested the water was faulty and why the results weren't valid. But we have no gun ranges. We have no gun shops in San Francisco.
So how do you someone wants to know?
What's that?
You have to drive out of San Francisco to buy guns?
Yeah. I mean, right, the silly thing is, as a law-abiding citizen, right? How do I get my guns? Well, now I'm inconvenienced, right? I have to now drive another, 20 minutes to the next closest gun shop, which for me is down in Burlingame. And of course, right, they're a great outfit. They're called Coyote Point Armory, a really great outfit down there. So. Right, all these laws and the anti-gun pressure the San Francisco Board of Supervisors put on, like, what's the end result? Okay, no more gun shop, right? No more gun range where people who own guns and want to practice, right? Who want to be responsible gun owners and who want to be ready, right, in the event that anything bad happens in their home. The government has made it harder for us, right, to exercise our rights by making sure that we're well trained. Thankfully for me, I mean, and many others, okay, it's not that inconvenient to have to drive, 40 minutes instead of 20. But, for ranges, the closest range to me now is 35, 40 minutes away. And I always think about, people who don't have a lot of money, right? Where, even the, gas money and ammo, right, costs, all these costs add up. And we now have an ammunition, right, registration scheme here that just launched in July. So now you need to pay the state, I think it's like $20 for like an annual ammunition permit just to buy ammunition.
Yeah, it seems crazy.
Yeah, right. So you just start adding up all of these costs. It's like, wait, I have to spend all of this money just to exercise a natural born right to protect myself. And it's incredibly frustrating, right, to live, in a place that doesn't really respect our rights, and my local officials think that, right, their way is the right way. And I really want the Supreme Court to just weigh in on this, right? And my rights in San Francisco should be the same as anyone else's, right, across the country. Right? This whole patchwork of, right, why do certain residents of other states and cities have more rights than me, right, living in San Francisco, California? Just right, we're all Americans. It should be more, right, the same and equal for everybody.
Like one of these 30-round mags, like I can have it. I'm throwing it around on screen. Everything's cool. No laws being broken. I can go in and buy it without a permit. I can buy it on the internet. Have it shipped right to my door. If I handed this to you,
I'll take. Oh wait, this hand it. Take it on from the screen. Just be like,
you would be a
misdemeanor. Or in jail.
Yeah, actually, Exec makes something called a California special, which is a 10-round magazine, but for $5 you can buy a kit, which you can ship to any other state, and all you have to do is pop the bottom off, push the floater down, light it up, stick it in, and you have a 30-round mag. And another thing about X-Tech that I've noticed, I don't know if they did this on purpose or not, but all their magazines are dated. Remember when California had that little thing for a week?
Oh yeah, there was a window where anybody could buy 30-round magazines and have them shipped here.
All their magazines. And all you had to do to get rid of the California special or remove the sticker, all their magazines for some reason are dated, manufacturer date, within that week. Still, I guess they just haven't had a chance to change the machinery to change the date on all of them. But
you
do that and use that to bring in 30 round magazines to California, but I don't know. I'm just thinking snowballing.
So you bring up an interesting point about magazine parts kits, and I was having a conversation with a college acquaintance of mine, and he was asking me a lot of the typical questions, why is it such a big deal to ban 30 round magazines, ban assault weapons, and part of my response to him was, when I look at guns, I look at prohibition and alcohol in a similar way, where so many components about guns and accessories can be made at home, right? Either can be made at home or with 3D printers on the rise. Like it's going to be pretty inevitable that, right, one day, I mean, you can do it today, but one day it'll be very, very, very easy for anybody to make gun parts, right? Gun accessory parts, right? If you just want to make a magazine, right, then go buy a spring, right? Go make a simple base plate, right? The guns and gun accessories are often very simple and not complicated. And right back to the prohibition example, right? Prohibition failed in our country because, well, one, the attempt to moralize, right, alcohol and say alcohol is bad, right? It results in all these nefarious behaviors. That didn't work, right? And so similarly, I've seen the same thing happening to guns, right? And gun owners. Oh, right, you own guns, right? Guns and people who own guns, right, are going to do bad things, right? And then the other parallel is they're fairly easily made either at home, like, right, moonshine and beer and wine, right? You can make a firearm and accessories just as easily, and then with technology making it easier, it's like we've already had this experiment in our country of banning a thing, right? That's easily made at home or with sort of everyday parts. It didn't work, and we repealed, right? We repealed the 18th Amendment, right? I would see history repeating itself again if we try and ban AR-15s or ban 30 round magazines at any kind of national level. It's very futile in my mind, and also it wouldn't make our country safer, right? That's kind of the ultimate kind of insult and problem that I see with a lot of gun control is it's not actually going to make us safer.
Yeah. I know Ivan the Troll watches our show and also reads my articles. Ivan the Troll, if you don't know who that is, he is the most prolific 3D gun designer in the world, basically. So much so that New Jersey wants to know who he is, but he's like so hidden that they haven't been able to find out. And they have actually put a lot of effort into trying to unmask him, and they haven't been able to unmask him. And I don't know who he is either. I just know he watches my show. But if you go to BitChute and you can search Ivan the Troll, you can find not only how to make it on all these guns on 3D printers, but the actual files to like print a gun like a Glock. And someone's asking me about tomorrow night. Tomorrow night I will be podcasting here. I have Antonio Okafor on the show, and not Antonio.
Antonia, yeah, she's great. Right, she just got announced as the director of outreach for Guns of America.
Yeah, that might have a little way of how I got her on the show.
Awesome.
Yeah. That works for a while. But they wanted to keep it on the down low for a while, so I've been keeping that in my pocket.
I saw the GOA Twitter handle tweeted out today, so that's why. Hey, if GOA is going to tweet it, of course it's fair game.
Yeah, well, it's out in the open now. I just couldn't say anything else today.
Good stuff.
So she's going to be on the show tomorrow talking about that. But yeah, it's going to be It's an interesting fight in California for you guys right now. It's going to be an interesting fight in Virginia. Do you see any hope for California though?
It has been a roller coaster of ups and downs, over the years. And a few years ago, the big hope was our CCW, framework, changed from a may issue to a lot of counties changed over to shall issue, and a lot of county sheriffs have seen tens of thousands, right? I think all in all, it's been like hundreds of thousands of new CCW, permit holders over the past few years. So that has been encouraging. But every legislature, we are always bracing ourselves for what new anti-gun bills are going to work its way through. And Gavin Newsom, who's our new governor, he's rabidly anti-gun.
Oh yeah.
At least our previous governor, Jerry Brown, he was a moderate. He was a gun owner himself, often very reasonable, but not always pro-gun, but not always anti-gun either. Point being, our previous governor was better than the current one with respect to gun rights. I think what I want to highlight though is, when I'm talking to Americans across the country about what's happening in California, I often hear the response say, "Oh, sucks for you guys out in California. I'm glad I live in insert state here, insert free state here," right? And I always tell them, I go, look, just because you live in a quote unquote free state now doesn't mean that it's always going to stay that way.
Virginia.
Right. I mean, right. People thought that Virginia was a, Second Amendment stronghold, and it's starting to slowly, tilt in the other direction. And, for better or for worse, a lot of states often look to California for, for examples on, best practices, whether it's, environmental issues or food or firearms. What happens in California. I mean, we are, I think, the second largest state by population with over 58 million residents. Ironically, we're the top state in terms of gun sales and gun accessories by dollar amount, right? So we are massively contributing, right, to the firearms culture, to the industry, to the community, even with this huge fight that we've had on our hands for the past decade.
People are saying that Gavin Newsom should be impeached. That would be nice, but
yeah, obviously the I word is a hot topic these days. With
Trump,
with President Trump, and I guess all I'll say is this: is I think the burden of proof, right, for an official to be impeached should be high, and proving that is hard, right? It's very hard without the process becoming political.
Yeah, it should be very rare.
It should be very rare. I mean, thankfully, in our country, it has been pretty rare, right? In our countries,
to Clinton and Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only two. In both, impeachment doesn't mean that you get kicked out of office. It just means you get put on trial. And they won, and both of them won their trials, basically.
Yeah. So I don't think there's any movement to impeach Governor Newsom, but he's not perfect. He's not perfect. And when I think about back to San Francisco really quick, and we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on homelessness, for example. Right. And the homelessness issue has never been worse than it is now. And it makes me think, okay, we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year on this issue, and it's only getting worse. Somebody's making money, right? This money is going somewhere, and we're not seeing results. And
Yeah. People are sitting on the streets in San Francisco.
Literally, right? I was walking my puppy down the block the other day. I live in a very nice neighborhood, at least it once was a nice neighborhood. Except, I've got, human turds. I've got, drug needles and drug paraphernalia. And I'm trying to, dodge my puppy around all of these hazards. And she comes across a puddle of diarrhea, which I'm pretty sure was human diarrhea.
Oh my God.
And she got one lick in before I realized what she got herself into, and I yanked her back. But right, this is my life, right? That we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars, and I have human diarrhea on my sidewalks, and then this is a fairly common. It's a common enough occurrence that residents here we're just numb, right? We're numb, and now that numb and complacency, though, is starting to turn to anger, right? And I expect over the next few years, right, that the media is going to start, I think, turning over some of these rocks and being like, right, where is all this money going, right? This is probably corruption on some pretty significant scale, and if we need to impeach people or recall them, force them out of office, I wouldn't be surprised to see some heads roll.
Yeah. I'm surprised that our chat window doesn't work unless someone says something anti-gun and all of a sudden it works. Well, now the Facebook posts are coming through.
All right. What do we got going on there?
No, someone just said ban all guns. We don't need them.
I clicked over. Yeah, I see that. Oh, baby Dave.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't see that. That's one of the. But I don't know why the other. And we're getting we're almost to the end of the stream, and it's still broken for the most part. But we are getting a couple, and I don't know what's going on. We gotta look at my software and see what the hell. But San Francisco is a weird place. One other question I have before we let you go is, how is gun ownership accepted in San Francisco, not by the politicians, but by the residents? Is it as rabid anti-gun?
I think it's I've had some mixed experiences on that question, actually. Yeah, I've had some residents who are just like, even the thought of somebody owning a gun and the fact that I'm in that house, that frightens me. And then you have the other kind of another perspective, which is a lot of residents are neutral, they honestly they don't care. And then there are a number of residents who are gun owners who one of my friends, he has over 40 animals that have been all preserved in his townhome. It's quite impressive, how many ibex and other deer and antelope and just a whole bunch of animals he has here in San Francisco in his home. But I would say a lot of residents are actually pretty anti-gun, and even if you just own a gun, sometimes you become someone they don't even want to talk to, right? But they're so scared of you, or they become so upset over the issue that they're not interested in knowing who you are.
Yeah, I think I've told you this before, but I have a friend who's trans who lives in San Francisco who said coming out as trans was easier than coming out as a gun owner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, coming out as a gun owner here in San Francisco is hard. It's there are a lot of closeted gun owners in San Francisco, and I know because they often come out to me.
Well, you can't especially hide. They, you Google your name, and all of a sudden, the guy won a gun competition on national TV.
So I have the same conversations with them that we've had here, right? About hey, you if you can find the courage to come out as a gun owner, because no one's going to be able to look at you and know that you own a gun, that you believe in the right to protect yourself, and you believe in other people's rights, right, to protect themselves with a gun. And they often will push back and just be like, it makes me uncomfortable, right, to come out as a gun owner and put myself out there. And at the end of the day, I mean, right, I have to respect, right, what my friends and colleagues' decisions are, but I think we can still do our best to lead by example. Which for me, I'm always trying to be a Second Amendment advocate whenever whenever and wherever I can, and really show our country that there are millions of law-abiding gun owners like you and me and your listeners, right? That we're not the ones that the government needs to be afraid of or worried about. And let's use more scalpels and less sledgehammers when it comes to solutions, right? Let's not just take this big sledgehammer and say, all right, universal background checks for everybody, if we don't really understand what the problem we're trying to solve. And let's try and take a scalpel and carve a very specific and targeted solution on the people who are problems in our society.
All right. Well, Chris, it's been great talking to you. If you want a shirt like this, you can go to Black Swan Tactical. Black Swan Tactical is a member of the Black family. And I'll send you some stickers and that says no quarter for tyrants. And I got some.
Hey, there we go. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. I'll have to send you a copy of my book, Shoot to Win. It's a book for the new shooter and has a whole bunch of personal anecdotes from my Top Shot experience. And
yeah. That's available on Amazon, right?
Yeah, on Amazon, iTunes, bookstore, anywhere books are sold. And Katie Pavlich, who's editor of Town Hall and Fox News contributor, she wrote the foreword, for Shoot to Win. And Dustin Ellerman wrote the afterword, and he won season 3 of Top Shot. He's a great guy, one of my close gun friends. So there it is. Oh, that's the first edition. If you click on paperback, which is cheaper, you will see the second edition. There we go.
Right, so, and it's available on Kindle as well. I'm gonna go ahead and buy the Kindle version.
Cool. And then I'll send you copies of the hard and soft copy for your library.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. I have a lot of signed books by different, mostly physicists.
Oh. Love it. Nice.
Michio Kaku signature, and so I used to be still in really into physics, but I used to go to all these talks. Like I went to Stephen Hawking.
Oh wow.
And all the, because my aunt used to be the director of the director of membership of the Smithsonian. So they do a lot of talk for like famous physicists and stuff like that. So she used to always get me in.
Wow.
So buy the book. You have a meet and greet. I used to get them all signed and stuff like that.
Very cool. Well, I would be honored to have my book up on your shelf with a lot of smart people.
Michio Kaku was up there. Yeah, a bunch of them. A bunch of different people. Brian Cox, which is a great guy. If you haven't read Brian Cox's book, you should.
Very good.
Phil Platt, So yeah, it'll be up there next to those guys.
Nice.
Yeah, tell people how they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm active on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter at Top Shot Chris. And then my website, topshotchris.com. If anybody's interested in buying a autographed copy, John gets one for free. But if you want to pay, I offer a discount for a signed book on my website, topshotchris.com. It's a great gift for the holidays. So if you're looking to spread the good word and help bring a new shooter into the fold, that's what Shoot to Win is all about. It's beginning marksmanship instruction for pistol, rifle, shotgun.
Yeah, I think it's amazing how you won the competition against all these guys. Because there's an SAS guy in there, right?
Yeah. There's this, the British Special Forces. We had a former SWAT commander, Olympic shooting champion. 2003 World Grenadier champion, right? So he shot grenade launchers.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
But it does show what you can do if you put your mind to it. Because you had a goal to win that, and you put your mind to it, and you accomplished it. I mean, against astronomical odds.
Yeah, I put my mind to it, and it really goes to show that we have a lot of talent here in America, especially when it comes to firearms. And right, a regular civilian, like me, just kind of went from obscurity, and now I'm made a living and a name for myself in the firearms industry, and I'm having not just a ton of fun, but I've just to bring it around full circle to something we talked about at the start. For me, this wasn't about fun, or sorry, this wasn't about the Second Amendment to start, right? Top Shot was just about fun, but I've really come to appreciate how important it is, right, for us to all be advocates for our freedom and for our rights. And if we are silent, and if we don't speak up, then we put those rights and our freedom at risk. So thank you for having me on the show. I really enjoyed my time here, and I look forward to seeing you the next thing.
Oh yeah, I'll be there. I'm always at Pro Gun stuff. Are you gonna be at our SHOT Show?
Yeah, I'll be at SHOT. That'll be the next big thing.
All right, well, I'll see you out in Vegas then.
Awesome.
It would be great. All right,
indeed.
Well, thank you very much, and I want to thank everyone out there for tuning in. I want to give a special thanks to all my Patreons. You can support me on Patreon at patreon.com/John Crump, or if you don't want to do Patreon, PayPal me /JohnCC. And a very special thanks to Lee Armory, the makers of the M10, this is my AK. Yeah, I know you really can't see it too much, but it's great. This is my AK. I've had all sorts of AKs, arsenals, and everything else, but this is by far one of my favorite AKs I own. And the reason why I let them sponsor me is because I actually use their AK. If I sponsor something, it's something that I actually use. I won't take a sponsorship from anyone who I don't use their products from. So, yep. I will see you tomorrow. I have Antonia Okenfor on the show. We're going to be talking about her new position at GOA. And you guys have a great night. And if you guys aren't going to be tuning in on tomorrow night or Wednesday night, I won't be broadcasting on Thanksgiving or all the way through that Sunday. I'm taking my little break here where I'm not going to do any social media or anything like that. I'll probably end up writing, though. Always end up writing. For some reason, I can't stop writing. I have so I put out 379 articles so far this year.
Wow, you're a beast. Love it. That's great.
This is something I deal with my anxiety by writing. So I have a lot of anxiety, so I write. And so I will see you guys later. And hope to see you then, Chris.
All right, good stuff. Thanks again, John.
I don't know. Someone was saying they hope to see you then, Chris, but I don't know where they hope to see you at. Maybe SHOT Show.
I hope to see them somewhere as well. Yeah, SHOT Show, NRA Show. NRA is probably best chance, I suppose.
Yeah. I think they're mad at me, but that's not for the show. I'll talk to you later. And hold on, Chris. I'll be right with you.
Okay.
Good night.